Lang, kapag mas mababa sa poverty threshold, sila ay maisasama sa bilang ng poor o walang kakayahan para makabili ng basic food at non-food na pangangailangan. Tandaan, ang pag-alam ng konsepto ng datos ay nakatutulong upang tama ang paggamit at interpretasyon sa datos. Upang tama ang maiuulat at upang tama ang programa at polisiya. Mahirap ba ako? O hindi? Ano ang ibig sabihin ng pagiging mahirap sa Pilipinas? Sino nga ba ang maituturing na mahirap? Ayon sa Republic Act 8425 or Social Reform and Poverty Alleviation Act, maituturing na mahirap ang isang individual o pamilya kung ang kanilang kabuuang kita ay mas mababa sa isang sukatan o poverty threshold na itinatalaga ng gobyerno. Ang threshold ang pamantayan ng pagsukat ng bilang ng mahihirap. May dalawang klase ng threshold sa pagtukoy ng mahihirap. Una, ang food threshold na tumutukoy sa minimum na kita o kinakailangang halaga ng isang individual o pamilya upang matugunan ang mga pangunahing pangangailangan sa pagkain o basic food requirements. Ikalawa, ang poverty threshold na minimum na kita na kailangan ng isang individual o pamilya upang matugunan ang mga pangunahing pangangailangan sa pagkain at iba pang mga pangunahing pangangailangan katulad ng pang-edukasyon, pangkalusugan, tirahan, ilaw at tubig, damit at sapin sa paa at iba pa. Paano nako-compute ang bilang ng mahihirap? Una, pagkalap ng mga kinakailangan datos katulad ng kita ng pamilya, food bundle at presyo ng pangunahing pagkain. Ang food bundle ay set na mga pagkain sa bawat probinsya na nakabatay sa isang National Reference Food Bundle ay dinisenyo ng Food and Nutrition Research Institute o FNRI. Ito ay binubuo ng mga pagkain na pinakamurang nabibili at kinakain sa lalawigan at tumutugon sa 100% na pangangailangan sa enerhiya at protina at 80% para sa iba pang mga nutrisyon. Ang bawat pagkain sa food bundle ay nilalagyan ng katumbas na halaga gamit ang mga datos sa presyo na kinakalap ng PSA bawat buwan. Ang kita ng pamilya ay nanggagaling sa resulta ng Family Income and Expenditure Survey o FIES. Ito ay isang sample survey na isinasagawa ng PSA kada 3 taon na naglalayong makapagbigay ng impormasyon sa kita at gastos ng pamilya. Ikalawa, ang pag-compute ng halaga ng food threshold. Ang bawat panlalawikong food bundle ay nakabase sa isang national reference na food bundle na may almusal, tanghalian, hapunan at merienda. Tinitiyak na ang food bundle ay binubuo ng mga pagkain may pinakamababang halaga at kinakain sa lalawigan. Ang bawat food bundle ay dapat na merong energy, protein, calcium, iron, vitamin A, thiamine, riboflavin, niacin at vitamin C. Halimbawa ng food bundle sa Metro Manila na nakabase sa National Reference Food Bundle, ang almusal ay binubuo ng scrambled egg, kanin at kape na may gatas. Sa tanghalian, mayroon namang nilagang munggo na may dilis at malunggay, kanin at saging na lutundan. Samantalang sa hapunan naman ay pritong tulingan, kanin at nilagang angkong at may meriendang pandesal. Ikatlo, ang pag-compute ng poverty threshold. Bahagi ng pag-compute nito ay ang pagkuha ng non-food component. Ito ay sa pamamagitan ng pagtingin sa consumption pattern ng mga pamilyang malapit sa food threshold. Ito ay didirektang pag-compute na ginagawa di lamang ng Pilipinas kundi maging ibang bansa. Ito rin ay tinatawag na food expenditure over total basic expenditure, ratio na may average na 0.6983 mula sa resulta ng FIES noong 2003, 2006 at 2009. Ang poverty threshold ay makukuha sa pagdi-divide ng food threshold sa FETBE ratio. Panghuli, ang pagbilang sa mga individual o pamilya na may kita na bababa sa mga thresholds. Kapag mas mababa sa food threshold, sila ay maisasama sa bilang ng food poor o walang kakayahan para makabili ng basic food needs. Samantalang, kapag mas mababa sa poverty threshold, sila ay maisasama sa bilang ng poor o walang kakayahan para makabili ng basic food at non-food na pangangailangan. Tandaan, ang pag-alam ng konsepto ng datos ay nakatutulong upang tama ang paggamit at interpretasyon sa datos, upang tama ang maiuulat at upang tama ang programa at polisiya. Mahirap ba ako? O hindi? Ano ang ibig sabihin ng pagiging mahirap sa Pilipinas? Sino nga ba ang maituturing na mahirap? Ayon sa Republic Act 8425 or Social Reform and Poverty Alleviation Act, maituturing na mahirap ang isang individual o pamilya kung ang kanilang kabuuang kita ay mas mababa sa isang sukatan o poverty threshold na itinatalaga ng gobyerno. Ang threshold ang pamantayan ng pagsukat ng bilang ng mahihirap. May dalawang klase ng threshold sa pagtukoy ng mahihirap. Una, ang food threshold na tumutukoy sa minimum na kita o kinakailangang halaga ng isang individual o pamilya upang matugunan ang mga pangunahing pangangailangan sa pagkain o basic food requirements. Ikalawa, ang poverty threshold na minimum na kita na kailangan ng isang individual o pamilya upang matugunan ang mga pangunahing pangangailangan sa pagkain at iba pang mga pangunahing pangangailangan katulad ng
Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. We are pleased to welcome you sa gaganaping press conference ng Philippine Statistics Authority para po sa 2023 First Semester Poverty Statistics ngayong ika-22 ng Disyembre 2023. Ako po si Angeli Grace Aicardo, ang inyong host para sa press briefing na ito. Para po sa ating mga guests na nais makibahagi sa ating talakayan, ang event po na ito ay naka-livestream sa PSA Facebook page at ang mga updates naman po ay tweeted sa PSA Twitter account gamit ang hashtag PHPovertyStats. Kaugnay po nito upang ibahagi ang mahalagang impormasyon o updates sa estado ng kahirapan, ikinararangal ko pong ipakilala ang ating mga resource persons para sa press conference ng 2023 First Semester Poverty Statistics. Sila po ay sina Secretary Arsenio M. Balisacan ng National Economic and Development Authority at si National Statistician and Civil Registrar General Undersecretary Claire Dennis S. Mapa ng Philippine Statistics Authority. Nais din po naming kilalanin ang presensya ng iba pang mga opisyal ng NEDA at PSA na kasama po natin ngayon, both on-site and virtually. Mula po sa NEDA, kasama po natin ngayon sina Assistant Secretary Sara Lynn Daway Ducanes, Director Girly Grace J. Casimiro, Assistant Director Edgardo S. Aranjuez, OIC Director Frances Fatima Cabana, at OIC Assistant Director Marie Jeanette P. Cordero. Mula naman po sa PSA, kasama po natin ngayon ang Deputy National Statistician ng Sectoral Statistics Office, si Dr. Divina Gracia L. Del Prado. Kasama rin po natin ang Assistant National Statistician for Social Sector Statistics Service, Mr. Adrian A. Cerezo. Ngayon, atin na pong pakinggan ang ulat ni PSA Undersecretary Claire Dennis S. Mapa.
Magandang umaga sa ating lahat. Ang Philippine Statistics Authority ay mag-uulat ng poverty statistics para sa unang 6 na buwan ng 2023. Ito ay base sa nakalap na impormasyon ng Philippine Statistics Authority sa average retail prices ng pagkain sa mga pamilihan sa iba't ibang lugar sa Pilipinas mula Enero hanggang Hunyo ng 2023 at sa first visit ng 2023 Family Income and Expenditure Survey. Ang Family Income and Expenditure Survey or FIES ay isang nationwide survey na ginagawa ng Philippine Statistics Authority para makakuha ng impormasyon tungkol sa karaniwang kinikita at gastusin ng pamilyang Pilipino. Bago ang 2023 FIES, ito ay huling isinagawa noong 2021. Ang reference period ng first visit ng Family Income and Expenditure Survey ay mula Enero hanggang Hunyo nitong taong 2023. Ang mga datos para sa unang 6 na buwan ng 2023 ay kinalap sa loob ng 21 araw mula ika-8 hanggang huling araw ng Hulyo ng taong 2023. Ang bilang na na-survey noong Hulyo 2023 ay 171,588 families. Ang mga datos na ito ay sapat para makapagpalabas ng reliable estimates sa national, regional, provincial at highly urbanized cities level. Ang bahagdan ng pamilya na ang kinikita ay di sapat upang matugunan ang kanilang basic food and non-food needs sa unang 6 na buwan nitong taong 2023. Samantala, sa parehong panahon noong 2021, ito ay nasa 18.0%.
Para po sa ating mga stakeholders, we are experiencing a slight technical difficulty. Please stand by po as we fix the technical issues that we are encountering.
Base sa mga datos na ito, ang poverty incidence among families ay naitala sa 16.4%. Ibig sabihin, 164 sa bawat 1,000 pamilya ay matuturing na mahirap noong unang 6 na buwan ng taong 2023. Ito ang bahagdan ng pamilya na ang kinikita ay di sapat upang matugunan ang kanilang basic food and non-food needs sa unang 6 na buwan nitong taong 2023. Samantala, sa kaparehong panahon noong 2021, ito ay nasa 18.0%. Kung ang bilang ng pamilya ang ating titingnan, 4.51 million na mahihirap na pamilya ang naitala noong unang 6 na buwan ng 2023. Ang poverty incidence among population sa unang 6 na buwan nitong taong 2023 ay naitala sa 22.4%. Ibig sabihin, 224 sa bawat 1,000 Pilipino ay nasa may pamilyang di sapat ang kinikita upang matugunan ang kanilang basic food and non-food needs sa unang 6 na buwan noong taong 2023. Mas mababa ito ng 1.3 percentage points kumpara sa 2021 na figure na tinatayang nasa 23.7%. Kung ang bilang ng mahirap na Pilipino naman ang ating titingnan, umaabot sa 25.24 milyong mahirap na Pilipino ang naitala sa unang 6 na buwan ng taong 2023. Ang subsistence incidence among families ay naitala naman sa 5.9% noong unang 6 na buwan ng taong 2023. Ibig sabihin, 6 sa bawat 100 pamilya ay di sapat ang kinikita upang matugunan ang kanilang pangunahing pangangailangan sa pagkain sa unang 6 na buwan ng taong 2023. Ito ay mas mababa kumpara sa naitala noong kaparehong buwan noong 2021 na nasa 7.1%. Ayon naman sa bilang ng food poor families, umaabot ito sa 1.62 milyong pamilya sa unang 6 na buwan ng 2023. Ito ay mas mababa sa 1.87 milyong pamilya noong unang 6 na buwan ng 2021 pero mas mataas sa bilang noong 2018. Nitong unang 6 na buwan ng taong 2023, ang subsistence incidence among population ay naitala sa 8.7%. Ito ay mas mababa ng 1.2 percentage points sa 9.9% na naitala noong unang 6 na buwan ng 2021. Pagdating naman sa bilang, 9.79 milyong Pilipino ang may di sapat na kita upang matugunan ang kanilang pangunahing pangangailangan sa pagkain o maituturing na food poor ang naitala noong unang 6 na buwan ng 2023. Samantala, noong unang 6 na buwan ng 2021, ang bilang ng food poor population ay nasa 10.94 milyong Pilipino. On the average, ang poverty threshold para sa pamilyang may 5 miyembro noong unang 6 na buwan ng 2023 ay tinatayang humigit kumulang sa 13,797 national average. Ito ang minimum na kita na kailangan para matustusan ang kanilang basic food and non-food needs upang hindi mapabilang sa mahirap. Ito ay mas mataas ng 14.2% o 1,715 pesos sa poverty threshold noong unang 6 na buwan ng 2021 na naitala sa 12,082 pesos. Para naman sa food threshold, ang pamilyang may 5 miyembro ay nangangailangan ng 9,550 pesos on the average per month para matustusan ang kanilang basic food needs. Ito ay mas mataas ng 13.8% o 1,157 pesos sa naitalang food threshold noong 2021 na may halagang 8,393 pesos. Pagdating sa average per capita income, mapapansin ang pagtaas ng antas ng kita sa unang 6 na buwan ng 2023 mula sa unang 6 na buwan ng 2021 ay naitala sa 12.8%. Ito ay mas mataas kumpara sa pagtaas ng antas ng kita noong unang 6 na buwan ng 2021 mula sa 2018. Ang pagtaas na ito ay mapapansin sa lahat ng income decile. Kung susuriin natin ang pagtaas ng average per capita income ng nasa first and second decile kung saan naroon ang mga pamilyang malalapit sa poverty threshold, mapapansin na mas mabilis ang pagtaas ng kanilang kita na nasa 21.4% at 19.4% respectively kumpara sa pagtaas ng ating poverty threshold na nasa 14.2%. Ibig sabihin, mas malaki ang itinaas ng kita ng mga pamilyang malapit sa poverty threshold kumpara sa pagtaas ng presyo ng basic food and non-food needs. Kaya naman ang bahagdan ng mga mahihirap ay bumaba ng 1.6 percentage points. Sa 17 reyon sa bansa, ang National Capital Region ang nakapagtala ng may pinakamababang poverty incidence among families sa unang 6 na buwan ng 2023 na nasa 3.3%. Samantala, ang Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao ang may pinakamataas na poverty incidence among families na nasa 34.8%. Kung ikukumpara ang poverty incidence sa mga reyon, 11 reyon ang nakapagtala ng mas mataas sa 16.4% na national poverty incidence. Ito ang mga reyon mula Mimaropa hanggang Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao. Sa 17 reyon, ang Caraga Region ang nakapagtala ng pinakamalaking pagbaba ng poverty incidence among families na bumaba ng 10.2 percentage points mula sa unang 6 na buwan ng 2021 hanggang sa unang 6 na buwan ng 2023. Pagdating naman sa poverty incidence among population sa unang 6 na buwan ng 2023, ang National Capital Region pa rin ang may pinakamababang porsyento na nasa 5.1%. Samantala, ang Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao ang may pinakamataas na poverty incidence among population. Ito ay naitala sa 44.8%. Katulad ng poverty incidence among families, 11 reyon ang nakapagtala ng mas mataas na poverty incidence among population kumpara sa 22.4% na national average. Ito ay ang mga reyon mula Mimaropa hanggang Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao. At katulad din ng poverty incidence among families, ang Caraga Region ang nakapagtala ng may pinakamalaking pagbaba sa bahagdan ng mahihirap na nasa 10.2 percentage points mula first semester ng 2021 hanggang first semester ng 2023. Sa unang 6 na buwan ng 2023, ang National Capital Region ang nakapagtala ng may pinakamababang subsistence incidence among families na nasa 0.6% at ang Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao naman ang nakapagtala ng 12.8% na siya namang pinakamataas na subsistence incidence among families. Sa 17 reyon ng bansa, ang mga reyon mula Mimaropa hanggang Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao ay nakapagtala ng mas mataas na subsistence incidence kumpara sa national level na naitala sa 5.9%. Pagdating naman sa subsistence incidence or food poor among population, ang National Capital Region din ang may pinakamababang porsyento na naitala sa 0.9%. Samantala, ang Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao naman ang may pinakamataas na subsistence incidence among population o tinatawag nating food poor na naitala sa 18.1%. Katulad ng subsistence incidence among families, ang mga reyon mula Mimaropa hanggang Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao ang may mas mataas na subsistence incidence among population sa unang 6 na buwan ng 2023 kumpara sa 8.7% na national subsistence incidence. Ang mga riyon na may significant na pagbaba sa subsistence incidence or percentage ng food poor among population ay ang National Capital Region, Cordillera Administrative Region, Region 2, Region 3 at Caraga Region. Noong 2018, grinupo o cluster ang mga probinsya sa 5 pangkat na naging basihan ng mga saklaw na clustering para sa taong 2021 at 2023. Ito ay batay sa porsyento ng mahirap na pamilya na naitala sa probinsya. Ang Cluster 1 ay tumutukoy sa poorest cluster o kinabibilangan ng mga probinsya na may pinakamataas na porsyento ng pamilya na mahirap, habang ang Cluster 5 naman ay tumutukoy sa least poor cluster o kinabibilangan ng mga probinsya na may pinakamababang porsyento ng mahirap na pamilya. Sa unang 6 na buwan ng taong 2023, 2 probinsya ang napabilang sa poorest cluster. Mapapansin na mula sa 5 probinsya noong 2018 na nasa Cluster 1 o yung poorest cluster, 2 probinsya ang naiwan o natira dito sa first semester ng 2023. Sa Cluster 5 naman o yung least poor cluster, mula sa 20 probinsya noong 2018, umakyat ito sa 24 na probinsya. Ito ang mga probinsya ng poverty incidence ay di tataas sa 11% sa unang 6 na buwan ng 2023 o yung mga napapabilang sa least poor cluster. Kabilang sa Cluster 1 ang mga probinsya ng Basilan at Tawi-Tawi na matatawag nating nasa pinakamahirap na cluster noong unang 6 na buwan ng 2023. Ang probinsya ng Tawi-Tawi ay new entrant sa poorest cluster. Ito ay nasa Cluster 2 noong 2021 at Cluster 4 naman noong 2018. Sa usapin naman ng least poor cluster o yung mga nasa Cluster 5, kinabibilangan ito ng 4 na distrito ng National Capital Region, 16 na probinsya mula sa Luzon, 3 sa Visayas at 1 sa Mindanao. Sa cluster na ito may 11 probinsya na naidagdag nitong 2023. Ito ang mga probinsya ng Aklan, Apayao, Bataan, Cagayan, Camiguin, Guimaras, Ifugao, Ilocos Sur, Kalinga, Nueva Vizcaya, at Tarlac. Kung susuriin ang clustering ng mga probinsya base sa poverty incidence among families ayon sa thematic maps, ang mga kulay na light green ay tumutukoy na nasa poorest cluster o Cluster 1 at Cluster 2. Samantala, ang mga dark green naman ay nasa least poor cluster o Cluster 4 at Cluster 5. Mapapansin sa ating thematic maps na dumami ang mga probinsya na naging dark green noong unang 6 na buwan ng 2023 kumpara sa unang 6 na buwan ng 2021. Dito nagtatapos ang aming pag-uulat sa first semester 2023 Poverty Statistics. Ang Philippine Statistics Authority ay nagpapasalamat sa inyong pakikilahok sa press conference na ito. Magandang umaga sa ating lahat.
Maraming salamat po, Yusek Mapa, para sa ulat ng 2023 First Semester Poverty Statistics. Bago po natin mapakinggan ang pahayag ng NEDA, nais din po naming kilalanin ang presensya ni NEDA Assistant Secretary Greg Pineda, good morning po, at Assistant Secretary Reynaldo Cancio, good morning po. Ngayon, atin naman pong pakinggan si Secretary Arsenio M. Balisacan para sa pahayag po ng NEDA ukol sa 2023 First Semester Poverty Statistics.
Colleagues in government, friends from the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. When President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. began his term, we aspired for an ambitious goal of reducing poverty incidence to a single-digit level by 2028. As we approach the end of this year, Allow me to report on our progress with respect to meeting this objective. As reported by the Philippine Statistics Authority, poverty incidence among families declined to 16.44% in the first semester of 2023 from 18.0% in the same period of 2021, equivalent to 230,000 households escaping poverty. In terms of population, poverty incidence decreased from 23.7% to 22.4%, or 895,260 less poor Filipinos. Across the country, poverty incidence decreased in 15 out of the 17 regions from 2021 to 2023, declining significantly in NCR, CAR, Cagayan Valley, Central Luzon, Soxargen, and Caraga. While poverty incidence decreased in BARM, it remains the highest in the country. On the other hand, the Davao region experienced a significant increase in poverty incidence due to the region's vulnerability to natural hazards such as flooding and earthquakes. The decision to fully open the economy and lift all COVID-19 restrictions in the countries starting in 2022 has allowed us to recover from the unprecedented combined impact of the pandemic and the government's policy responses to the crisis. Notably, in the first 3 quarters of 2023, the Philippines demonstrated remarkable resilience amid all challenges, with the gross domestic product growth rate averaging at 5.5%, placing us among the best performing economies in Asia. Meanwhile, the most recent labor force statistics show continued improvement in labor market conditions, with the unemployment rate dropping to 4.2% in October 2023 from 4.5% in October 2022, and the underemployment rate to 11.7% from 14.2% in the same period. Moreover, our efforts to tame inflation and manage its effects have yielded significant results. From a high of 8.7% in January, inflation dropped to a 20-month low of 4.1% in November this year. For the same period, inflation for the bottom 30% of households declined from 9.7% to 4.9%. Government interventions such as the targeted cash transfer program, fuel subsidy, one-time rice allowance, and the Libreng Sakay program help mitigate the adverse effects of inflation on poor households. The high inflation in the first semester of 2023 partially offset the positive effect of income growth. Note that per capita income among those in the first income decile, the poorest 10% of our population, increased by 21.4%, and those in the second and third deciles increased by 19.4% and 18.3%, respectively. Had the inflation rate for the bottom 30% been at 4% in 2021 and another 4% in 2022, the cumulative increase in poverty threshold inflation would be around 8.2% instead of 14.2%. And assuming the same increase in income, poverty incidence among the population would have been about 16% instead of the observed 22.4%. Moving forward, we will ensure the effective implementation of various initiatives and interventions in the social sector to reduce poverty at both the national and regional levels. These include the effective implementation of the new social protection floor that institutionalizes basic social security guarantees, the passage of the Trabaho para sa Bayan Act, and the Pambansang Pabahay para sa Pilipino program, as well as the establishment of the Walang Gutom 2027 food stamp program. The Marcos administration remains focused on its priority to substantially reduce poverty to a single-digit level. First, we will continue to prioritize creating high-quality and high-paying jobs to address the rising issue of vulnerable employment. To achieve this goal, we will continue to focus on attracting job-generating investments from the private sector, significantly improving human capital, and scaling up social and physical infrastructure to improve our people's employment prospects. Second, we will ensure that our macroeconomic fundamentals are sound, enabling us to sustain growth in the medium and long term. Despite numerous economic challenges, government efforts to improve the fiscal situation led to a 9.4% increase in revenue collection. Our latest deficit to GDP and debt to GDP ratios decreased to 5.7% and 60.2% in September 2023, respectively, from 6.5% and 63.6% in September 2022. This allows us to expand our fiscal space and free up resources for much-needed services, especially for developing and protecting our people's capabilities. Lastly, we will continue facilitating policy initiatives to create an enabling environment for investments, trade, and innovation. Through the recently enacted Public-Private Partnership Code, we aim to reinforce the country's investment ecosystem and provide private sector investors with a more stable and predictable policy environment to advance our development efforts. These programs will generate more high-quality jobs, create various opportunities for Filipino workers, and contribute to our goal of significantly reducing poverty in the country. With our priorities in check, we remain committed to achieving our ambition of a matatag, maginhawa at panatag na buhay para sa lahat, where no one is poor and no Filipino is left behind. Thank you and happy holidays to all.
Maraming salamat po, Secretary Balisacan. Ngayon, dumako na po tayo sa ating open forum. Bago po natin ito simulan, nais po naming pasalamatan ang lahat ng press at media partners na kasama po natin ngayon dito sa press briefing. Para po sa maayos na pagsasagawa ng ating open forum, ay narito po ang ilang mga paalala. Para po sa mga online participants natin, maaari po ninyong gamitin ang raise hand feature ng Zoom kung nais po ninyong direktang magtanong sa ating mga resource persons. Kapag kayo po ay natawag upang magtanong, pakisabi po lamang muna ang inyong pangalan at organization na inyong kinabibilangan bago po ang inyong tanong. Maaari rin po kayo magpadala ng inyong mga katanungan gamit ang Zoom chat box. Siguraduhin lamang po na nakalagay ang inyong pangalan at ang organizasyong inyong kinabibilangan. Panatilihin pong nakamute ang inyong microphone kung kayo po ay hindi pa natatawag upang magtanong. Para naman po sa ating mga on-site participants, pakitaas lamang po ang inyong kamay kung kayo po ay may katanungan at hintayin lamang po na kayo ay ma-acknowledge upang magtanong. Kapag kayo po ay natawag, pakisabi po ang inyong pangalan at organisasyong kinabibilangan bago po ang inyong tanong. Para po sa mga kopya ng press kits, ipapadala po namin ito sa ating online media participants via email. Samantala naman po sa mga on-site participants, ang printout po ng press kit ay ibibigay po sa inyo ng aming mga staff. Okay, handa na po tayo sa ating open forum. We are now ready po. Okay, first question po from Ms. Shaila Francisco from TV5.
Good morning, Sec. Sec, yung question ko lang, how would you rate the decrease po ng poverty incidence? Would you say medyo mabagal po ba o mabilis? And given the current data, would you say this is something you expected? You mentioned earlier yung without inflation, bumaba sana sa 16%. But given the current data, would you have expected na mas mabilis yung rate of decrease? Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, as we have said, the challenges this year, especially in the first half, were quite significant, no? With the high inflation coming from various fronts, including those from the outside, no? With price pressures coming from the international community. Uh, now, we all know that the poor are most vulnerable to inflation, especially if that inflation is coming from food. And indeed, a big part of the inflation that we experience in the first half of the year is coming from food. So, unexpectedly or unsurprisingly, the brunt of that inflation was felt by the poor. So uh, uh, it was respectable that the effects of our drive to push growth in the economy and our efforts to open up the economy from the COVID-19 restrictions did very well, worked very well for the poor. As you have seen, the income of the poor, particularly the bottom 30% of the population, increased at a much higher rate than those of the upper income groups. So if the inflation was much lower, would have been lower, say at the rate, even at the top range of the 2 to 4% that we are targeting, then poverty reduction would have been faster.
Sir, just to follow up, as NEDA Secretary, were you disappointed with the results, or are you satisfied with the
No,
rate of
not at all.
decrease?
I was expecting actually that poverty would increase given the inflation. I know from experience that the poor are very sensitive, very vulnerable to price increases, especially if these are coming from the food, no, and that's why NEDA and government and our president has created early on this inflation outlook and monitoring team, interagency team, no, to ensure that we are able to address the issue quickly. Uh, and yet, what I did not expect that was that the effects of the opening up of the economy were much greater for the poor, and so the income effects still dominated the effects of inflation and poverty. So the overall effect is still a decline in poverty. That to me was a good relief, that and make us I think see that the second digit level poverty is still very much achievable. That the target to achieve a single digit poverty incidence by the end of this administration.
I'll just add siguro lang ng numbers, no, para doon sa sinabi ni Secretary RC. As I mentioned kanina, yung ating poverty threshold between 2021 first semester hanggang sa 2023 first semester ay tumaas ng 14.2%. At yun nga dahil dito sa ating inflation, particularly yung food. But mas mataas yung income ng ating first three deciles. Ang first decile natin, first income decile, ito yung of course yung talagang malapit doon sa poverty line. Tumaas yung income nila between that period ng 21.4%. At kung ikukumpara natin nung 2018 to 2021, yung last na report namin, ito ay nasa 9.4% lang. So talagang substantial yung pagtaas. Yung second decile naman tumaas siya ng 19.4% mula 2021 hanggang 2023. Kung titingnan natin yung increase niya mula 2018 hanggang 2021, ito ay nasa 9.8% lamang. At to complete it, yung third decile, ang increase ng income nila mula 2021 hanggang 2023 ay 18.3%. At kung i-compare natin ito mula 2018 hanggang 2021, ito ay nasa 10.4% lamang. So it shows that the first three deciles had higher income increases. Kaya yun yung decrease sa ating poverty incidence. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Balisacan and Yusek Mapa. Next question from Ms. Kai.
Hi, sir. Good morning.
Morning.
Sir, yung sa ano lang, what's the difference in income between the lowest and the highest deciles? And then also kung meron tayong computation ng GNI?
Gross national.
I mean gross national. Sorry, Gini coefficient, sorry.
Yung second question muna, yung Gini coefficient, uh, kinocompute namin yon na pag nandoon na yung full year poverty. Pero yung ratio natin, I think yun yung gustong malaman ni Kai. Yung ratio ng 10th decile saka sa
Bottom.
first. I'm sorry, you have Gini coefficient. Okay, mayroon pala silang kinompute na Gini coefficient. Yung Gini coefficient natin ng 2021 first semester, ito ay nasa 0.4368 at preliminary itong first semester ng 2023 ay nasa 0.4185. So substantial din yung pagbaba niya yung ratio. Balikan na lang kita Kai doon sa ratio. Kinocompute pa nila yung ratio ng top deciles
And
ay
then-
yung bottom decile.
Sir, ano lang, kay Secretary Balisacan. Sir, yung in terms of the target of single digit, how many more poor Filipinos do we need to lift from poverty in order to attain the target? And also in terms of the jobs created, that how many jobs do we need to create in the next few years in order for us to achieve our goals?
Yeah, we have indicated those for PDP, but yes, if you have the total number of the population, then that's easy to derive, no? But what we're saying is to get a single digit level, at least that's 9% of the population deemed poor, no? On the basis of our official poverty lines, no? And by the time that 2028, what's the total population by
120.
then?
That's about 120. Siguro mga nasa 11 million ang 9%.
By the time our population will be much greater, greater than 113 today. Yeah. And of course that goes along also well with the labor. The labor force is also growing in absolute number. So especially that we have entered already the demographic transition in which the working age group is growing now faster than the rest of the population. So we expect that a much larger number of people looking for jobs, and what we are hoping to achieve is that they will be able to find jobs, but even more importantly, the jobs that they will get are of the high quality kind, that one that enables them to escape from poverty.
So sir, 1 million jobs created, dapat?
I can work out the number, but still I don't have the number of the workers, and I have to go to see what how that working age group is behaving.
Okay.
Just to answer yung question kanina on the ratio of the top income decile and the bottom income decile. So yung ratio ng 10th decile over income ng first decile ng 2018 first semester, ito ay nasa 10.1 times. Bumaba ito ng 2021 first semester ng 9 times at bumaba lalo itong first semester ng 2023 ng 7.6 times. So the numbers from the Gini coefficient and itong crude ratio ay nagpapakita na mas mataas yung income, tumataas yung income ng ating bottom decile. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Balisacan.
I think that's a very significant trend, no? If we can sustain that, because improvement in the distribution of income or poverty reduction is also very sensitive to improvement in the distribution of income. So as the Gini ratio or this relevant ratios mentioned by NSMAPA indicate, that is showing to us that growth is indeed becoming inclusive. that's the ano that's how you can look at the inclusivity of growth when the lower income groups, particularly the poor, are participating even more to the growth process. But as you can see in the faster growth of their incomes relative to uh, the upper income groups.
Thank you, Secretary Balisacan and Yusek Mapa. Next question po from Ms. Bernadette.
Good morning po, sirs. Sir, while we appreciate the improvement in the income, especially for the first 3 decile that Yusek Mapa said, based on the data that was also presented, it was said that the national average needed is 13,700 plus to meet the minimum requirement for the basic food and non-food, if I'm not mistaken. But sir, compare that to the minimum wage here in Metro Manila. It's lower compared to the minimum income that they should be getting. Does it follow that the minimum income is not sufficient to meet the basic needs and food and non-food needs of
Yeah.
a family? Thank you po.
Yeah. As I explained many times in the past, no, the purpose of the establishing this threshold is not so much to measure how much an average person or a poor person needs now, but it's it's to measure how we are making progress in the reduction of poverty, given that we are employing the same standard, no? And we adjust that standard only for inflation. Now, over time, nag-change yung standard as our welfare, as living standards increase, nag-adjust na rin yung perception natin on what constitutes a basic needs, no? But what the data show us is that we are making progress in the poverty reduction. It's one thing to now say that we need to further to revisit the thresholds to ensure that it's as close as possible to what society now can constitute as minimum basic needs. No? Yun ang exercise na we can do eventually. Hindi lang namin ginawa this year because sa palagay ko hindi maganda yung base year kasi we are just coming from a shock, a COVID. So yung consumption patterns are not that stable. So kung magbe-base ka ngayon doon ng standard, hindi maganda. It will not reflect the future situation. So I think in the next year or in the coming years, we can go to that exercise of updating our thresholds.
Sir, pardon po the question, kasi Pasko naman din po. Given po the data that were presented, will an average Filipino family be able to afford po Noche Buena? Thank you po.
I guess that's what we hope for, that everyone will have the means and are able to enjoy the season regardless of their circumstances. Of course, realistically, we know that as this number show us, even with this standard of poverty low as some critics would say, but still, even that is malaki pa rin yung number of poor people that could not meet those So to say that everybody can have not so very nice, maybe exaggeration, because we do know that there are many people around us who remain to be poor and they deserve our utmost attention. Our government is doing its best to target its available resources to those most vulnerable, those most in need, by developing the programs or implementing the programs that I just mentioned earlier, including the food stamps program and related assistance.
Sorry, one quick follow-up na lang. Are we within the timeline po when it comes to the programs that are being rolled out? Thank you po.
Yes, I think we are in a hurry to get speed up the implementation of this program. We want to ensure that the benefits of growth will be felt by everyone. And I always like to believe that because looking at the at where our country now, our level of per capita income is not that low. Of course, low and related to our richer neighbors like Thailand, Malaysia, and Singapore, but relative to others, like Vietnam, we're not that far. But then, if you look at our social indicators, they're not as encouraging as they should be, no? Which means that we really have to work harder to ensure that social services are provided to our people, especially the bottom 30% that we mentioned here, so that all these other dimensions of welfare, access to food, access to health, access to education, kita natin yung learning poverty natin mataas, ganun. So, I mean, that's what I meant when I say that we are a government in a hurry to address these issues because we cannot afford to be left behind by our neighbors.
Thank you, Secretary Balisacan. Do we have other questions to our resource persons po? Okay, let me check our Zoom po if we have questions from our online participants. Okay, it seems there's no questions sent to the Zoom chat box and no one is raising their hands here. Miss Kai po, questions.
Sir, yung sa second half na semester ng poverty data, do you expect a large difference, or would it just be similar to the first sem?
I can venture to answer that, Kai. I think I'm quite optimistic about the second half. Number one, inflation has come down, and inflation is very purchases expenditures are very sensitive to inflation. Number two, the labor market conditions, as we have seen, are quite robust, no? With unemployment and underemployment continuing to decrease. Number three is I think that while there is still instability around, I think that the kind of uncertainty that we see now is not as bad as the beginning of the year, and I think that while many of our global the major economies are still on a tight policy mode, I think that many of them are now revisiting there and seeing a better future ahead. So I think even as El Nino is a threat, but again, based on our past experiences, past episodes of El Nino, if prepare well for the El Nino, we can minimize the negative effects, and that's why the president has set up this El Nino task force, a whole of government approach to ensure that we address all the dimensions of the issues, the effects of El Nino on health, and food security, and power, and food, and so on, no? And of course, particularly on prices, because if the El Nino will lead to serious shortages, then we could be threatened again by inflation. And so we are watching those the developments there. The good thing was in our briefing the other day, in Malacanang, our Pag-asa provided us new information that that the earlier forecast that the El Nino would peak when so many provinces would have drought and dry spell in May. It turned out their current data now is showing that that peak would occur in April. So it looks like it's going to be a shorter El Nino phenomena, and that should be good for us. Should be good for the economy. But still, we will not loosen our guards.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Secretary Balisacan. Okay, may nagpadala po ng kanyang tanong dito sa ating Zoom chat. Ang tanong po ay galing kay Mr. Andrew Calonzo of Bloomberg. Ang kanyang tanong po, this is for Secretary Balisacan. Secretary, are we still on track to cut the poverty incidence by 5 percentage points in midterm and by another 4 percentage points by 2028?
Yes, as I said earlier, with the positive number that has come out in the first half of 2023, I'm now, the possibilities are even now higher that we will be able to achieve that single-digit target by 2028.
Thank you, Secretary. Do we have other questions to our resource persons? Okay, we have another question po, again from Mr. Andreo Calonzo. This is addressed to Secretary Balisacan. Secretary, what's your outlook on domestic price of, let me repeat that. Secretary, what's your outlook on domestic rice prices given the higher import prices and El Nino? And he has a follow-up question. How will this be felt by the poor?
Oh, yeah. Domestic rice prices. Of course, we are watching that closely, as I said earlier, because the impact on the poor is quite obvious. No? It's rice is a staple of Filipinos, and especially among the poor. And so, when prices are elevated, it impacts on their welfare. And in fact, in the recent inflation data, we have seen there that the rice inflation was a major contributor to the November inflation. So it's very important. We have our Department of Agriculture is ensuring, as ensured the cabinet, the president, that they are implementing the programs that are to them. They are provided with sufficient support, no, for their programs and early interventions like seed dispersals, irrigation, water impounding, cloud seeding, if that's an option, and so on, to ensure that that the impact of the El Nino on production will be as minimal as possible. Of course, that we have also to use our other tools, the trade policy, even as the world market is getting tighter. So far as rice is concerned, we need to ensure that our stakeholders have access to food, even if these are sourced from outside. If there are shortages, if production is not enough to meet domestic consumption.
Thank you very much, Secretary Balisacan. Do we have other questions to our resource persons?
By
po?
the way, I should say that's a part of the effort to address this impending and the continuing elevated prices. No, the NEDA board approved the Executive Order number 10, no, to extend the reduced most favored nation tariff rates on rice, pork, and corn until end of December next year.
Thank you, Secretary Balisacan. Other questions to our resource persons? Okay, none from our on-site participants. Please let me check our Zoom chat. Okay. Okay, it seems wala na pong tanong dito sa ating mga online participants. Kung wala na pong mga katanungan, dito po nagtatapos ang ating open forum. Nais po naming pasalamatan ang ating mga resource persons na the Secretary Arsenio M. Balisacan at NEDA Secretary Arsenio M. Balisacan at PSA Undersecretary Dennis S. Mapa. Maraming salamat din po sa ating mga opisyal from NEDA at PSA na kasama po natin dito sa press briefing. Gayon din po sa ating mga media partners na nakilahok po sa press conference na ito ng PSA para sa 2023 first semester poverty statistics. Sana po ay patuloy po ninyo kaming suportahan. Maaari po ninyong bisitahin ang PSA website sa www.psa.gov.ph para po sa mga karagdagang updates. Muli ako po si Ange Aicardo mula sa PSA. Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat.